and they're going to be putting me in the back of the ambulance, and they're going to, like, scan my ATM card and be like, oh, he's only got fucking $25 in debit right now. Leave him here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan. That is me, coming at you right now from Boston, downtown Boston, in the Kenmore Square area. I just finished doing a show at Pavement Coffee House. It was super fun. Brett Johnson runs a show over there. Will Martin hosted, and it was a blast. Coffee house show. And I'm on my way now to Jed's Basement, which is a private sort of... It's open to the public, but they don't charge for shows. It's all, just come and hang, kind of soul comedy, I call it. It's not for the money. It's just for the fun of it, for the art of it, and that's a good time. So I'm going over there to do some show. I think it's called Heckle Fest. I think you go on stage and intentionally get heckled. I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure. They do all kinds of wacky shows there. But anyway, how are you guys? How you doing? I'm a little bit fucking cranky today. You guys usually like the podcast more when I'm cranky or when I'm sad or something. So those people who like those episodes are going to fucking love this week, because I'm having a rough day, a rough week, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And it's because of money. That's the fucking brass tacks. That's the truth, is money. The green stuff, the cheddar, the fucking nobody do it better, the fucking chilla, the fucking chinchilla, the skrilla, the chingle chang. You know what I'm saying? The changle, the chingle. Fucking makes the world go around, right? I got none of it right now, or a little bit. And it's not because I don't work. That's the problem. A lot of people don't understand. I don't think a lot of people understand the life of a non-famous comedian or a guy like me. That's why I do this podcast. People just don't fucking understand. But I bet a lot of freelancers understand. Anyone who does like freelance work or is in business for themselves probably finds themselves in the pickle that I'm in right now once in a while. Because ever since I've become a full-time comic, it's happened at least once a year, and it's you kind of come up broke, and it's not necessarily because you don't have any money or you're not worth any money or you don't have any coming, but it's just because we don't always get paid on time. We don't always get paid the second after we do a gig. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes 30 days to get paid for a show. When it comes to like acting stuff, like commercials, it takes even longer. Sometimes it takes 2 months or something like that. So depending on how your money is managed, or if you have any emergency sort of car repairs or anything like that, it can fuck you. Normally, obviously, save a little bit of dough. You have some money in the bank for these things. Things get a little tight, and then the money comes in. Because that's the thing. I'm waiting on about $2,000 right now in different checks from 3 different bookers around there. Probably a little less, probably like $1,700 or something. Which isn't like a life-changing amount of money to a lot of people, but it's like when you don't expect. I didn't expect this space, and I'm fucked basically. So I'm basically checking the mailbox every day, waiting for checks for gigs that I've done a month ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And it just so happened that these 3 bookers all at the same time probably has something to do with the fact that taxes were filed in April. But it just so happens that all these bookers at the exact same time are taking 2, 3, 4 weeks to pay. So all those gigs you've been seeing me doing on Twitter and Facebook for the last month and month and a half, a lot of those have not gotten the check for yet. So I'm not a broke motherfucker in actuality. I'm just very cash poor because I have no money in the bank or on me right now. But I have some coming, so that's good. I can take that to no one and use it. But it is nice to know it's coming. I'm not back in the day. Back in the day when I was this broke, there was no money coming, and it was a lot scarier. So at least now, could be tomorrow, could be the next day. But let me tell you, man, at my age, it's a little bit of a fucking, a little bit of an anxious time when you're low on cash and you're a comedian. I don't know. The older I get, the more I just like to have in the bank. It makes me nervous. You know, something could go wrong with the car. Something could go wrong with fucking anything. You know, you just know how sometimes you can need money at the last second. So now would be a great time to head over to willnoon.com. Hit that old donate button. Donate through PayPal. Donate through Venmo. However the fuck you want to do it. Shout out to Jess donating $5 last week. And she's donated many times. And I really appreciate that. Jess. She rolls. We talk often. And, you know, and I don't want anyone to think I'm starving to death. But, and I make it happen. You know, I fucking found some old money tucked away. I fucking borrowed some money from one of my friends. But it's like, I'm just the type of dude who doesn't like to do that. So it's just kind of like, that causes me a lot of stress. To even have to borrow money from a buddy for a couple of days is just like, I don't want to have to do that, you know? That's why I fill my schedule. That's why I work so much. Because I'm a full-time comedian, but I always tell people, just barely. It's not like I live well. I still live pretty much paycheck to paycheck. Maybe a little bit better than paycheck to paycheck, but it's pretty fucking close. And I think a lot of the comedians you might like, you'd be surprised that sometimes they are broke motherfuckers, even when you wouldn't think so. You're like, what are you talking about? They've been on TV. I saw them on TV today. It's like, yeah, but they might be waiting on a bunch of fucking checks. Or they might, you know, who fucking knows? But I'll live, and, you know, luckily, thanks to friends and shit, just got to get through the next few days. And I'll pay everyone back, and it'll be fine. But it's just stress. It just stresses me the fuck out. Because it's one of those things where every time it happens, you regret becoming a comedian. It's one of those times where when I went to one of the comedy clubs today to just see if I had a check there waiting for me, and there wasn't a check there, and no one could. I just felt like, I was like, man, I haven't been this fucking poor in a long time. And it just makes you go, why did I become a fucking comedian? I was walking through to one of the comedy clubs, and I walked by the convention center, and there was like a convention of heart surgeons there. And I'm like walking to go pick up this check for like $100, and I'm like hoping to get it so I can cash it and fucking, you know, get a fucking haircut and buy my mom a good Mother's Day present or some shit. And I'm walking there, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, this is sad. I'm like, all looking for $100, and at my age, as long as I've been doing it, and as I'm getting there, there's a convention for heart surgeons in town. So every guy and girl that's walking by me is a fucking heart surgeon. And I'm like, I bet none of them have to worry about fucking $100 here or $100 there. And then it's like, I go up to the door to the hotel, and there's like fucking 14 Porsches parked out front. That's when you know, that used to be one of the hardest parts about living in New York for me when I was like a young gun. Living down in New York City is like being so poor, but surrounded by such wealth. You know, you'd be so fucking poor in New York City, you're starving, you're eating ramen noodles and shit, but then you go and you pass 14 millionaires on your way to the bar to go spend your last $5 on beer. You know, you pass these luxury cars. It's right there in front of you, what you don't have. And I guess that's good. You want to strive. For me, it's all about security. I'm not really one for fancy things, or if I had a lot of money, I don't think I'd do like a ton of super fun shit with it. Probably mostly like the practical stuff, cars, buy a car, buy a house, invest. Maybe I'd up my clothing game a little bit, but I don't think I'd, you know, be one of those guys buying tons of crazy toys or shit like that, you know. But who fucking knows how you'd really act until you get money. But so it's not like it makes me sad in that way, like, oh man, I can't afford a Porsche, so my life sucks. But what I think is like, oh, I bet that guy never worries about like chipping a tooth and having to pay for fixing it, or worries about like his fucking if his transmission blows, he can't work And if he can't work, he can't make any money. And if he can't make any money, we all are you going to end up homeless? So it is kind of. I love being a comedian, and 90% of the time, it's just the greatest job ever, and there's nothing to complain about. But every once in a while, or every now and then, you have weeks like this where it's pretty fucking tough, and you're just a broke ass dude, and you're the kind of can't do shit your friends are doing, and all kinds of stuff, you know. The thing that's really bumming me is the fact that it's Mother's Day Sunday, and I'm probably going to have to buy my mom some cheap-ass gift when I'd really like to buy her something nice. And also, it's like, I've done all these shows. They're all done. Like, I've done weekends at places, and I still haven't been paid for it. And I'm like, it will be nice when it all comes in, but I was a little bit stupid with my planning. I kind of took this weekend that I'm on right now off to just sort of like fucking do some fun shows. Like this Pavement show doesn't pay dick, and this Jed's Basement show doesn't pay dick. It's just fun for me. Like I said, soul comedy. But it's like, you know, would have loved to have picked up a gig. Oh, you want to know how bad money? Let me tell you how fucking bad money is right now. All right? I'm sitting in the pad the other day playing some video games, and I hold on a second, just turn off Waze. I'm sitting at the pad playing some fucking video games, and I'm smoking some weed, and I'm like thinking about how I don't have a lot of money, and I'm making a grocery list. And I'm like looking at my weed, and I'm like, man, I'm running low on weed. I'm gonna need weed. I'm gonna need groceries. I'm gonna need a haircut. And I'm like writing out my budget, and I'm like, this is not looking good. This is like starting to get a little worried about money. No shit, my doorbell rings, and it's this little old lady with a crucifix around her neck, and I'm like, hello, and she goes, I'm from like whatever group of America, and we were wondering if I could talk to you for a while. I'll pay you $40 cash. And she holds out the $40, two 20s, and she's like, if I can, you know, if you'll answer some of my questions, I'll give you this $40, and it'll be, you know, won't be that much time, and, you know, the kind of thing you would normally just slam the fucking door and say, no thank you, this reeks of, like, a pain in the ass waste of time or whatever, right? But since I'm so poor, and also, I gotta admit, a comedian, and I usually do, when I'm in a scenario like that, I'm like, well, something interesting could fucking happen, or this is kind of funny, this old lady wants to come into my apartment, maybe I should do it just for the experience. But I was like, honest to God, I was looking at that $40. I was like, I was like, holy shit, man. It's amazing how quickly you can go from thinking $40 is like a nothing amount of money to, like, you know, being like, oh yeah, I'll fucking spend an hour with a complete stranger in my not so clean bedroom for $40. Sure. It was so weird. So she goes, she's got all this shit, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Fucking let's do it, right? So she comes in, she sits down on my bed, and I'm not kidding you. My room was a little, like I was sorting laundry, and I'd just been living like an asshole for a few days, so it was a mess. It wasn't like hoarders messy. There was no food or like real trash, but it was clothes everywhere, disarray. My desk was all unorganized and shit. So I was a little bit like, what the fuck? And I'd been smoking weed. My weed was all over the place out in the open, but it's not illegal. And also, she just wants to get this done. If you've ever had that kind of job where you're going door to door and shit, like, you're not giving a fuck. And like I said, baby, she had that 40 John Jones bones for this boy, and I was like, I can use those today. I will buy my groceries with this $40 today. So, motherfucking, she came in. She was super sweet. Her name was Patty. We spent an hour talking to each other. about magazines, and she handed me a bunch of like index cards, and she's like, now if you read a magazine, put it in this box, and if you haven't read it, put it in this box, and if you read it in the past month, put it in this box. And yeah, it was kind of boring, and it took a little while, but it took an hour, but she was cool, and we had some laughs, joked around with her. She said, like, when she asked me a question, she was like, are you engaged or married? And I was like, well, who knows how this is going to go, Patty? And she was like, oh, Will. But, man, I'll tell you, it was kind of funny a couple of times to be high and just look up and see this 75-year-old woman sitting on the edge of my bed with a clipboard asking me questions. I was like, how did this happen? How did we get here? How did this happen? So she gave me that fucking money, and she, excuse me, I just got a funny text. She left, and then I tried to get my roommate to do it, and he was like, he thinks she's going to steal my information or whatever, but I was like, I'm telling you, man, it's a straight-up marketing thing. They just really want to know, like, what people are doing. I mean, I probably will get a million phone calls, but who gives a fuck? Am I right? I got 40 fucking bones, and I bought avocados and fucking chia seeds with that shit. Bought myself some chocolate milk. Low fat, baby. Protein. Chocolate milk. Chocolate milk's great. Did you know that chocolate milk after a workout? It's really good. It's almost like a health shake. So, fucking try it out. But yeah, man. Yeah, man. Money. I hate thinking about money. That's all the only amount of money I ever want is enough that I just don't have to worry about it. You know, of course everyone would say that, like, oh yeah, of course I'd like $1 million too. That's $1 million to some people. To me, like $30,000, I could probably it would revolutionize my life to just stick that 30 G's in the bank, and like my mental health level would probably increase 400% to like being positive, because that's just the kind of, I like to prepare, I like to be prepared. You can only be so prepared financially when you're a fucking Boston comedian. Everyone knows too, like I've worked other cities and they always mention about how like guys in Boston work for shitty money, and it's true, we do. It's easier to get it faster, maybe, I don't fucking know, but it's just weird. I don't know. I'm being a bitch about money today, but I was just kind of, I was extra mad because I've been in such a good mood for like months, and I've been working a lot for months, and everything's been clicking along, and I haven't felt any sort of financial pinch for like a long fucking time. And this bookers, you know, I get it too, like they have problems. Like, for example, I know I'm getting paid, it's taken a while to pay me because one of the bookers just did a huge show that cost a lot of money to produce, and it just didn't make a lot of money. And I was on it. So it's kind of, in a sense, I'm partly responsible, I guess, for that failure. But it's hard for me to really see it that way because I did everything I had to do. Gladly, I promoted as much as I could, and it's definitely bums me out that like not a lot of people showed up. But it's just kind of one of those things where you're like, this sucks for everyone. This really sucks. But in my mind, when I was planning that shit, it was like I planned on, like, that just, to me, it's one gig of many that I'm doing. They all pay a certain amount of money. So it's like, I'm going, all right, I'll do this gig, I'll make that money, and then I'll have that money to pay this bill, and it's like all worked out, you know? So when something just all of a sudden gets like, not, like, out of the clear blue sky, because this particular booker normally pays like very quickly, if not night of. It's like they're known for it being some of the best at paying. And then it was kind of like out of left field. I think this is what happened. The show didn't do so good, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, we'll get you in a couple weeks, 3 weeks. And it's like, crap, I was not ready for that. So like I said, if one of these 3 bookers fucking pays me, the other 2, I can stop bugging them. But it's just like a nonstop, I've been fucking putting myself in like embarrassing situation after embarrassing situation the past few days. It's like, I gotta call people and ask them to send me the money, and they're like annoyed with me asking. I gotta call my buddies and be like, I had to call like one of my buddies and be like, can I borrow money? He was like, of course, but in my head, it's not one of my favorite things to do. I had to call like my weed guy and be like, hey, can I pay you back like in a week? Like, can I get some weed and pay you back? He's like, no problem. But it's like all shit I haven't done in like years. And I went to the Coinstar, motherfuckers. Like, that's how bad. I was like, oh shit, I should clean all the change out of my car. It's probably like $40 in there. That's like literally where I was at today. Yeah. Sucks dicks. But that's the thing, like, it's been a conundrum in my own mind since I did this show, because it was unfortunate, like, how little of an audience showed up to this big show we did. We rented a theater, put a bunch of comics on it, and a lot of people came, like 500 or 600 people came, but the place holds like 1,000, you know? So it was one of those things where it was like good, but not just good enough. And, I feel pretty bad about it, but it's like, that's the question. That's the philosophical question here. And you can send in your answers on Will Noonan at Twitter at Will Noonan and willnoonanComedy@gmail.com. But it's like, who is responsible here, right? Like, in my mind, I've been trying to think of it all day, like business-wise, friendship-wise, like who's kind of like being fair and who's being unfair. And I can't, like, I can see it both ways. I can see the fact that it's like, hey man, we took a bath on this show, like, as producers, it's going to take us a really long time to pay you. That's fair to them, but it's unfair to the comics who are like, yeah, but I didn't know it was going to fail, and if it didn't fail, like, I don't get paid extra, so now I'm getting kind of punished for the show not selling a bunch of tickets, which would be fair if that was our only job, was to promote, but it's also like, we do comedy, we spend all this time writing and stuff. You lose so much money. Like, that's kind of the part where I kind of had to, like, sort of go, I don't know what the feeling was, but it was like, hey man, I'm sorry it's going to take a while because we lost a lot of money on this show. And it's like, yeah, well, I've lost a lot of money becoming a comedian. Like, I have never had money. So, like, this is the only money I make doing this. So it's like, that sucks. But it's just one of those things where we don't have any kind of power as comedians. It's like, we don't get paid extra if the show sells out. And but we can get fucked if the show doesn't sell a lot of tickets. And we don't get paid, for the years we're developing, or all those shows that are like $5, or all those free shows that we do, are just tons of shit, So whenever a booker is kind of like, yeah, I'm sorry, like, I'm a little behind on money right now, I always want to be like, are you really though? Like, because I know what it's really like to really be behind on money, which is cleaning out your car for change and going to the Coinstar machine. But I don't really know what it's like to produce comedy shows either, so I shouldn't step too far out of my fucking lane here. But it's something like, even comedians who were, like, I've been talking to about it, we're all torn. It's like, one comedian was, like, ready to give his money back. I'm like, I don't know if we should even be considering that. And other people are like, fuck it, man, take the money and run. And it's like, I don't really want to do that either. I feel partly responsible for the loss. But, man, as of today, I just don't know why. Like, when I look back at my schedule of the past few weeks, I'm like, why am I broke right now? I should not be. And it's just circumstance. I know a few of the people who book me actually listen to this podcast. I'm not talking directly to you, and I'm not pissed. I'm just doing the podcast, and I'm venting. I'm venting my sadness. It was a sad day. That's why I'm talking about this, because I was sad today. I haven't been sad I haven't been this sad in many days, and it was like a long day, and I kept catching myself going like, man, I'm just sad. I'm like, it's not depression, it's not anxiety, I'm fucking sad, because I just don't, if I don't have money in the bank, I just feel sad, and I don't even mean a lot, I just mean, I don't know, does anyone else feel like, I've never revealed how deep this paranoia goes or how weird this thought is, but sometimes when I don't have money in the bank, And it's funny. Let me tell you, I lived like for years where I never had more than like $100 in the bank at a time. I lived for years where I didn't even have a bank account. For years I lived in New York. I just had a shoebox full of cash underneath my bed. I would demand to be paid in cash. People paid me in a check. I'd be like, just take this back, pay me cash in a week. Like, I was Mr. Cash. I was crazy. I was stupid. I was drunk. I was young. And it helped me to not feel like I was blowing money. It was nuts. It was crazy. I did that for a bunch of years. Enough that I remember going on dates and telling chicks, like, I don't have a bank account or something. Or they'd be like, I'd be like, I only have cash. I don't have any cards. And they'd be like, you don't have a credit card or a debit card? I'd be like, no, I don't use banks. They'd look at me like, okay, you fucking crystal meth. What, do you live in a fucking trailer and believe in aliens? Sip of water for the working man, Stone Cold says. What the fuck was I talking about? Just how broke I am, just complaining about it. Anyway, what was I just talking about? I feel like I just was talking about something and I just randomly stopped. Just bitching and moaning about being a fucking comic. Yeah, I was talking to so many comics about what to do with this. And I know a lot of guys are feeling the pinch. Because when it's like, when you have a big gig, especially like that one was, that's usually like you kind of plan it. Like you're like, all right, like that money's going to, for me, it's usually the car or some sort of bill. Because I can get behind on the bills. I'm not good. As you know, if you've listened to this podcast, I'm not super great with dates or doing things in a regular manner or diligently, I guess. So just like I forgot to put out this podcast many times. Excuse me. I forget to put out I forget to pay some bills, so they go up a couple months. I get a lot of parking tickets. That's the thing, man. It's just never ending. So I'm kind of like constantly just making 500, spending 500, making 500, spending 500, like in a row. And when it's like when you live paycheck to paycheck and a couple paychecks take a while, it's like throwing a wrench in your whole thing. All right, so now that I've bitched about being poor for a half an hour and talked about how like when I lived in New York, I had that's what I was talking about back in New York. I lived for a really long time where I never had more than a few $100s, and I was happy. I felt free being that poor. But now, when I don't have, now it's like almost like if I don't have a grand in the bank, I feel like fucking nervous almost. And I have this weird paranoid thought like I'm going to like collapse on the street, an ambulance is going to come, and they're going to be putting me in the back of the ambulance, and they're going to like scan my ATM card and be like, oh, he's only got fucking $25 in debit right now. Leave him here. I don't know why I have that thought. I don't know like why. I know it's not real, and I know it's not even like a real fear, but it's a thought I can't sort of stop from appearing in my head when I'm broke. And I think it's reflective of like this subtle, anxious, sad feeling that I just can't seem to shake today. Although I did have a great set at Pavement. And by great, I mean like I had a really fun time. I had a lot of laughs. It was just like a good set and a lot of fun. So I'll fucking take that, and like I said, it's all good, man. I also got let me tell you this, motherfuckers. Another reason why I'm a little bit depressed about finances lately is because I just got my end of the year fucking statement from album sales, and I used to sell a couple albums in a year, and I still do, but now I sell them on Apple Music and Spotify and all these things where instead of money I get like 2 cents or half a cent. And I actually was streamed and downloaded more times last year than I've ever been as a comedian. Both my albums were listened to by more people than ever. In fact, I bet this year my albums were listened to more than all the years that they've ever come out combined. I fucking got a lot of downloads this year, and I made around $100. under $100. It was like $98, and it's all this paperwork that's like a fucking Bible, and you can look, and it's a cent, 2 cents, 1 cent, half a cent, quarter of a cent, until it adds up to around $100. But if each one of those downloads was $1 or $2 or $3, or let's say each 10 one was $10, like each album listen was $10, I probably would have made about, I don't know, 15 grand or something. But maybe if it cost that much, people wouldn't listen. So that's what I kind of thought about it myself too. So it's tough. It's tough making money as a comedian in 2018. It's tough making money from your CDs. It's tough making money from doing radio appearances. They don't pay, and it's tough doing shows because sometimes it takes a month. All right. So anyway, let's fucking get off this topic. I've spent easily a half an hour bitching about it. And but people want to know what the life of a comedian is, man. This is what it is. Every now and then, you're flat fucking broke for almost no reason. But it's probably just adulthood. Because I actually know a lot of people who aren't full-time comics who regularly borrow money from their parents or friends. And they pay it back and shit, but they regularly do it. And I've just never been cool with that. My brother's a fucking millionaire. I could probably borrow money from him anytime I wanted, and he'd probably give it to me. But I've never borrowed a dime from him because I hate borrowing money from people. I feel like it's one of the worst things ever. And I've loaned money to people, and I don't judge the people who do it. But for me, it's just like, to me, that's borrowing money is just like, it's like incremental. It's like 4% better than just not having the money at all. It's only a little bit better. So I usually just don't do it. But anyway, let's move on. Big story I know a lot of people are fucking annoyed with me on Twitter for the amount of baseball tweets that I've been putting out, and I'm sorry. What can I say? It's the start of baseball season. I'm very excited this year. I'm loving baseball right now. It's just been pretty much my entire entertainment lately is watching baseball games, episodes of House, and listening to baseball games on the radio. So other than House, that's all baseball shit. And the Red Sox this year, I know a lot of people listen to this podcast are in New York. Probably half the listeners almost are in New York. So don't fucking turn it off. I'm not going to just sit here and talk about how great the Red Sox are. Because also I think the Yankees are pretty fucking great this year. And this is when it's really fun to be a fan of both these teams, man. Both teams are super good. The Yankees have two gigantic monsters who just perfectly fit that, that whole bad, evil Yankee thing. And the Red Sox have a bunch of fucking fun, smiling motherfuckers, which makes us the rascally Red Sox. And everyone's playing their role, and it's just fucking great. It's great cinema, great shit. You never know what's going to happen, so I'm all excited. But the big story right now in Boston is David Price, who's a pitcher, second best pitcher on the team, co-ace, which is complete bullshit. That's like when they say you're a co-headliner when you're really just a feature who's getting $20 extra. It's like the ace is the ace. It's the first guy that pitches in your rotation. You can't be a co-ace. You're the number 2 starter. And he is the number 2 starter. He's not as good. But I still have hope that David Price could be one of the, to be as good as he was in his past, as good as he was against us. But he's got all kinds of problems, and he's definitely a dramatic dude. But the thing everyone's talking about in Boston right now is the fact that he said he's been diagnosed with mild carpal tunnel syndrome, most likely because of video games. And this has all the makings of a terrible sports story, or at least it's got a lot of meat on it for the sports reporters and people on fucking WEI and the AM radio stations, but it's not good for the sport, because it's just a bunch of nonsense. But it was 5 days ago, there was just a puff piece in online about how the Red Sox players love playing Fortnite. All the pitchers especially, they play Fortnite all night long. They fucking compete against each other playing Fortnite. And it's just, they're all about Fortnite. I sent the link to my roommate, Pat, who plays Fortnite all the time and loves it. And that was it. And we talked about it for 5 seconds. But then David Price, who's had mysterious injuries his whole fucking time here with the Red Sox, goes out with mild carpal tunnel, and everyone's like, well, he was just talking about how much he loves playing Fortnite, how he plays till 1 in the morning and shit. So then David Price comes out and just says, "It's hey, I've been playing video games since 1996. I was born in 85. I'm part of the video game generation." Basically gives them all the tinder they need to start a gigantic rumor fire. And the whole town, all the AM stations, is a titter talking about fucking David Price, video games, and Fortnite, and carpal tunnel. And it's now affected real sports. And it's interesting to see the old-time baseball announcers like Jerry Remy. They're like, I don't even know what this video game is. You play with other people? I don't understand. And then, and Alex Cora, who's like a little older but not old yet, he's like, hey, video games are a legit thing. All these guys play them. Every professional athlete in every sport is pretty much addicted to it. And now you actually have esports, which is a professional video game players, and a lot of those guys, I found out since this happened, actually do get carpal tunnel syndrome. So people were asking Alex Cora, like, professional video game players get carpal tunnel. Do you think he's getting it from video games? It's just fucking the fluff piece has become a little less fluffy, and people are talking or whatever. People are fucking going on and on about David Price, and he's to the point where he was like, I'm not even going to play this game anymore in the clubhouse. Don't you guys worry about it. And do I think any of this is true? I don't fucking know. I don't think you can get carpal tunnel. I've never had carpal tunnel, and I've played a lot of fucking video games. I have had a sore thumb from playing video games. I have blistered my fingers playing video games, but for the most part, never had a video game related injury, and I've fucking played a lot of video games. I've broken many video game controllers, not by throwing them, but just by playing them. I break them just by squeezing them too tight and overusing them. So they break before me. Motherfuckers. Fucking bitch ass controllers. I'm gonna keep breaking you. Yeah. But they never got carpal tunnel, but it seems to me like kind of a fucking, I think David Price is the thing with some athletes, professional athletes, the big ones, the big stars, the superstars, they get babied so much, and they get treated so much like prize racehorses that they start to believe or feel like prize racehorses within their own mind. And I see it a lot with the European professional soccer players. They just get fucking nervous. They feel a little twinge of pain, and they need the physio to come out and look at it. They feel just a little bit of fucking something wrong, and they take themselves out of the game. And you can see it in American sports too. And I often wonder about it. I mean, it's true too, and I'm not comparing myself with any sort of professional athlete, but I do run all the time, and sometimes you hurt something a little bit, you take a couple days off, or sometimes you feel some tightness, so you take a day off, or you watch that for a couple of days. So it has given me some insight to, I've been watching sports my whole life, but I never really had any real injuries or recurring injuries. But it gives you some insight if you've had a little bit of problems with stuff when a guy's talking about, I got Achilles problems, or I got plantar fasciitis problems. You can be like, yeah, I've had that shit, if you've done it too. So I always kind of wonder, what's the pain threshold here? Because I know you're not allowed to take steroids, and you're not allowed to take, fucking Oxycontin, but couldn't a major league pitcher who has carpal tunnel just take 3 aspirin, and wouldn't that be handled? I mean, carpal tunnel, especially mild carpal tunnel, which he was diagnosed with, is very, 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 very minor. It's the pain, even when it's major, I think it's not ow. I don't think it actually even makes you say ow out loud. It's just fucking ooh, that's it's not an ow, it's an ooh. Ooh, that's some good pain. Hurts so good. Nah, I don't know about that, but I always thought carpal tunnel was a fucking kind of a fibromyalgia. It was if you just go to the doctor enough and go I don't feel good, that's that's the diagnosis, Yeah, you got fibromyalgia. Get the fuck out of here. Have a white wine and take these pills, and you can tell all your friends you have a disease. Same thing with carpal tunnel. It's like, yeah, you have carpal tunnel. It's not that you're fat and that you're depressed. That's not why you're in pain. It's because you have carpal tunnel. It's because you work so hard. It's because you type so hard. Let me give you this, you fucking awesome guy. But I felt kind of left out, and I was making fun of the announcers and everything for not knowing anything about Fortnite, when in reality, I didn't know anything about Fortnite myself. So I did start just this afternoon, got with my buddy Paul, my buddy Pat. We played some Fortnite. I educated myself for this podcast so I could come on here and talk to you guys about Fortnite with a little bit of knowledge, and I had a lot of fun. And I downloaded the mobile version to my phone, which was shockingly not that bad. So I might be playing some Fortnite. I had a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll tell you what, though. My fastball is still 60 miles per hour. My fastball lost a little bit after I played an hour of Fortnite. And I lost some speed. That was the thing. I was watching the Red Sox-Yankee game last night, and Yankee pitcher CC Sabathia was having a little bit of trouble out there, and my buddy Pat came in and he said, I wonder what he's playing. Wonder what game he's playing. Oh, baseball humor. That was my mom's dream for me, I think, to be a sportscaster. I think she knew I was going to be in show business, and to her that was not so bad. Being a sportscaster was kind of like, maybe not as faggy as acting. She said that many times. She always kind of liked. I would have liked to have done it. I think I would. Every now and then, especially listening to these baseball games, I love I love when the guy does the live reads. Artie Lang does the bit too, but it is one of the funnier parts of baseball where they're like, Xander Bogaerts comes out to the base now, fighting through a little bit of a slump, 0 for 3 in his last 3 at-bats, but we're hoping he gets out of it tonight. And, of course, at 9:30 on the CW, we've got... Tonight we have Gilmore Girls, where little Joni doesn't know if she's going to be able to... Little Joni gets her period, and everyone helps her. Sorry, that was a terrible metaphor. I wasn't ready for it, but you get the point. Just fun to hear those guys talk. Down here at the ballpark today, it's a cool 55 degrees. We got Joe Castiglione. He's our guy in Boston. Love that guy. Love to meet him one day. Anywho, yeah, a lot going on. But I had a good time playing Fortnite. It was fun. I thought it was a pretty fun fucking game. I could see how it gets addictive because it's kind of quick and repetitive. And it's like, one match is over. One more. And then it's one of those games I could easily see, especially if you're smoking a little reefer. I could totally see, like, looking up, seeing the sunrise, and being like, what the fuck? Where is my time gone? I kind of love a game like that. I kind of hate a game like that. It's hard to kind of... Sometimes I feel like I should quit video games altogether. I've thought about that. I think I've talked about it many times on here because sometimes I really do think I care too much about a video game. Like FIFA, I play the sports video games and I get these years, in the game, seasons-long franchises, 25 years, where I'm the GM, and I just get so into it. And by like year 10 or year 7, they're not even real people anymore. They're all just computer-generated guys, and I literally have handwritten notes where I'm like, make sure to draft this guy next year. He's good. But I kind of reconciled a lot of that with myself last year because I was like, you know what? This shit definitely calms me down. It's like, I look at that FIFA game and my Red Sox video game as kind of like, that's like my toy trains in the basement, when I've been out doing comedy and freaking out and just doing what this is. Sometimes it's fucking tough, man, and you just want to like decompress, and just smoking weed won't do it. You need to like fully occupy your brain somehow, and video games are a great way to do it. And it's definitely my generation. I was born in 1982. I was born even before David Price, and I got my first Nintendo. Well, in 1989, it was my brother's, but I got to play it, and we played Mario. We played that shit, I wasn't a big video game player, though, when I was a kid. I was a big outdoorsy kid. But I do think it has some very beneficial qualities, but I will say it's kind of like reading, but you're not going to learn as much as when you read. Although, I do sometimes think I probably don't have many car accidents, knock on wood, because I've played so many video games. You know, you tend to kind of see ahead, 4 steps ahead. Or at least I try to. I also, all this stuff with David Price, we've been talking a lot about video games in the house, and my buddies and me. You know, when video games get brought up as, are video games a problem or not? So a lot of people bring up violent video games, and is violence in video games out of control, or does it make people violent? And I kind of, as much as I love video games, as much as I love playing them, and I also love playing violent video games, like GTA is one of my favorite games, Fallout and Skyrim, any Bethesda game, they can be extremely violent. I love all those games. But I do think for 90% of people, 99% of people, it's not gonna fucking do anything for you. It's not gonna make you violent in any way. It's not gonna scratch some violent itch that you have. It's just a thing to do. It's just a puzzle, a game like any other. But I think for the 1% that is touched, that is psychotic, it is just fantasy, murder fantasy for them, and they get a little bit more out of it. I mean, it's like, I think I've said it before, when I play baseball, video games, and when I play FIFA, I've played real sports, and sometimes you get what is very close to the same feeling you get when you actually win something in sports. And it always kind of frightens me a little bit. I'm like, man, I'm just getting the dopamine from this. Like, are athletes in the future not even going to go into sports because they don't need to play sports, because they're just getting their jollies from games? Because that's all we want as a human being, is that reward, that dopamine response. And they know how to give it to us, the achievements, the level ups. You know, a little bit here, you're grinding, you're getting bigger. So they know how to do it, and they know how to get you. But I do think, you know, it's not some weird coincidence that school shootings and mass shootings are like this huge phenomenon after everyone spent a decade playing first-person shooters. I mean, I'd like to see the data on how many of those people who went into a room or a crowded place and started picking off people have, you know, played GTA or played Call of Duty or played Doom or any first-person shooter excessively, and sort of either desensitized himself, but more so just became very sort of good and familiar with aiming and doing that. So that's the connection I'm trying to make. It's like, for me, I wish I played pro baseball. I wish I played pro soccer, but I can't. But I live out my fantasy of being a pro baseball player, a pro soccer player through video games. I think there's guys out there who want to be murderers or school shooters. They can't, so they go online and GTA and Gears and all kinds of games, and they do violent shit, and a percentage of those becomes fucking murderous psychopaths who have always been a thing. We've always had murderous psychopaths, but now we have ones that are like kind of trained to be great marksmen through hundreds of hours of video gaming. So I do think that's one of the things about Fortnite. I'm glad it's very popular, because it's not very violent. Yeah, it has guns and it has shooting and stuff, but it's not like, I don't think people are going to play Fortnite and get like a taste for real murder, you know? But I do, you know, a part of me wants to say, every time someone says video games cause violence, a part of me wants to be like, fuck that, that's not true, because I just love video games. But, you know, I don't want to be a hypocrite, man. I try very hard, guys. I try very hard on this podcast to not be a hypocrite for you. I try and have my integrity, and I'm going to admit when I have an opinion that I maybe don't even like, or maybe makes me uncomfortable, or maybe I'd like it to change. But it is what it is. And old man Noonan thinks video games can cause a little bit of violence in people. That's all I'm saying. Okay. But that's all. It's no big deal. Skills I made. Oh man. But yeah, I really enjoy a good video game. But that's the thing that makes me think about stopping sometimes. Is there definitely been times where I've been out with people after I did a show or something, and I'm like talking to someone, and I'm like, I'd really like to go home and play video games right now. Which to me that can't be great. That can't mean I'm an awesome person. I can't. I told a friend of mine, I told my friend Trisha all the other day. I was like, I was like, she goes, what? We were talking about dating or something, and I was like, I'm antisocial and kind of moody, and that's the thing I'm not super proud of, but it is what it is. Like, I love people. I love dating. And I like being around people, but I'll tell you, man, it's a struggle. Like, for example, I'm super happy this week that I don't have a girlfriend right now, because if I was this broke and I also had a girlfriend, I'd just be even more stressed out. Like, I actually caught myself today being like, thank God I don't have a girlfriend, because it would be fucking embarrassing to be like, hey, we can't go do anything tonight because I'm waiting on like $2,000 worth of checks. I thought you worked. I thought you were busy. I thought you were a real comedian. Oh, I am. It's a long story, but don't worry. They will pay me eventually. Well, why don't you ask them for it? Oh, I do, and they get mad at me, so then I stop. Oh, well, that's kind of weird. Yeah, well, it's an old business. And then they're like, I think I'm going to go date someone else. And you're like, I don't blame you. Bye. Bye now. Have fun. More water. Summertime here, man. It's getting to be summertime. It's still May, but it's getting to be fucking summertime here. I'm liking it. Getting lots of sun, but I'm drinking lots of water, eating lots of bananas and avocados. It's a fucking annoying voice, isn't it? One of the things I just saw, this is how you know you're getting old. I was just at a show at this hip coffee house in Kenmore Square in Boston, and I'm looking at all the coffee that they have for sale at the coffee shop, and one of them is called Ratskeller, which was a rock and roll club that was in Kenmore Square in Boston. That was fucking cool as fuck. It was grimy. It was like Boston's version of CBGB's in New York. It was exactly like that. Looked like that. Smelled like that. My parents had gone there when they were high school kids in the 60s. And they were like, man, that place is a fucking dive. And I'd be like, yeah. And I went there and I saw some of the Dropkick Murphys' very first shows there. I saw comedian Ken Reed's band, 30 Seconds Over Tokyo there. You see the Ducky Boys, fucking Casualties. Fucking, there were a bunch of guys. Something. There are these guys from California who were like the Ducky Boys I used to like. They were called like the Stick 'em Up Boys or some shit. a lot of just metal, a lot of leather, punk. Involves metal, like silver metal. And those are some cool times when we used to go to the Ratskeller, and I used to hang out there when I was like 14 years old and watch punk shows alongside like drunk 30-year-olds, and you just felt like you were part of something awesome that you weren't supposed to be at. And it was a really cool place, and it was very sad when it got torn down, and I was happy that I had been there and experimented with drinking and smoking pot there, and I had fucking signed the wall and stuff, and I made out with a girl there and everything. But yeah, Ratskeller. I had so many fond memories of the Rat, and I'm just glad I got to experience it. But let me tell you, it was funny to see it now as like a seasonal blend of gourmet coffee for sale. I was like, wow, that punk club, that club where that was all about anarchy and it was all about anarchy and fucking like fighting the man and being like an artist and just being like a revolutionary. It just does not go with just does not go with, like, gourmet coffee. Oh, shit. Saw there's a picture of me on Instagram. I'm going to screenshot that. I love this new iPhone X, man. Couldn't recommend it more if anyone out there is thinking about buying an iPhone X. You got the 2 thumbs up from the Unabomber. I'm a huge fan. It's very easy to use. I like it. I had the 6S forever. It was all fucked up. So, really love using my my iPhone X. Got a few minutes here to go. Feel like I sort of ran out of steam there. Like I told you guys, not the best day today. I was straight up. I had to collect myself a little bit this morning after. Oh, broke a personal record. Ran my fastest 5K that I've ever run. I totally by accident. I ran a 22-minute 5K, probably because I was trying not to have a panic attack. I haven't had a panic attack or an anxiety attack or any real bad anxiety. I want to say almost 6 months, a year. I don't even know how long. It's been a long time. I've been fucking meditating, working out. You know, I've been controlling my shit. Even going, I'm even going. Little secret, guys, between us. Don't tell everyone, but I'm going to go off antidepressants soon because things have been going so good. And then today, everything, it gave me pause. Today gave me pause because I had a little bit of a bad morning. I go for this run. Couldn't get my mind off the fact that I got money problems. And I kept having what if thoughts. What if my fucking car breaks down? What if one of my friends needs money? What if I gotta bail someone out? What if I get hurt and what if I break my arm? Like I started getting into just crazy what ifs and just driving myself nuts. And did everything that I could do to calm myself down. Cleaned up the apartment. Went out and cleaned out my car. Went for a run. Went for a walk. Couldn't fucking find Zen. Tried to meditate, and I was like, who is this dude? This is like the old Will, man. Chawing at myself. And I still don't know what it was, but fought through it. Drank a lot of water. And like I said, it was only like an hour and a half. And I didn't actually have an anxiety attack, and I didn't actually have bad anxiety, but I was fighting it, and I haven't even had to fight it lately. So that felt like kind of an L. Felt like kind of a loss, but once I kind of got out of the house and did some shit, I was like, no, it wasn't. You're a normal person. You're in a fucking tough situation. It's not necessarily fair, but it's life. And you're gonna fucking be fine. And you've got a shitload of change in your car. Go take it to a Coinstar. You haven't done that in years. It'll be nostalgic. And I did. And I had like $50 or something in change. Just sitting in my car. Can you believe that? Just driving around with all that change. Not even thinking about it. I have so little money. I have so little of value that my car was actually broken into this week. No bullshit. It wasn't really broken into. I accidentally left it unlocked. But they went through all my shit and did not take a single thing. They must have missed my Easy Pass. That would be the only thing of value, like of real value in the car. But I have chargers. I have like fucking Bluetooth speakers lying around. I have all this shit. They went through my glove compartment. They went through everything. They definitely made a huge mess. But they did not take a single fucking thing. They were like, why we always got to break into bums' cars? Why we always got to find broke losers' cars? Why can't we find Sebastian Maniscalco's car? Let's go find a guy who's got the dough. Well, I'd say that wraps it up for this week, motherfuckers. We have hit an hour. Sorry if I over-complained about money, but that's what this podcast is about. It's about the life of a comedian. I'm not going to come on here and pretend like every day you're a comedian is just a fun bucket of yucks. You know, sometimes you feel the squeeze just like everybody out there does. And some of you might have jobs you fucking hate, and some of you might be working like I used to work, like at a restaurant making $150, $200 a week, and you're like struggling right now. And if you are, you're going to get out of it, and I feel for you, and I've been there myself, And I'm back there again right now, and it doesn't feel great, and I know how you feel. So what do you do when you're poor? You buy a little bit of weed or booze, and you get high, or you get drunk, you watch a good movie, and pretend you're not broke for a little while, and escape. And that's what I'm about to do. I'm about to get out of this car, smoke a little weed, do this show at Jed's basement, and have some fun. And I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you guys streaming my shit, and I appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. And even though comedians don't make a lot of money anymore, I do appreciate you guys supporting comedy by even being here and being present for this. So thank you guys for all that. And if you do want to donate, head over to willnoonan.com, hit that donate button, or buy a t-shirt, prowrestlingtees.com. My name is Will Noonan, and remember, if no one told you they love you today, I do. That'll be $50. Just kidding, motherfucker. I'm just kidding. You guys, it's all free. But anyway, peace out. I love you. Have a good one. Bye.
AgaryEnergy.com for additional information. License number CS121. You wake up to breakfast in bed, in your luxury hotel room. And it's at home, anything is possible.
You could ditch your routine or rejuvenate massage at the spa.
Then perfect your drive on a world-class golf course.
Good boy.
What? No headphones. Just texting me. Figure it out later. Yeah, I'm leaving. Motherfucker. Test, test, test. Test 1. Test 2. 3, 2, 1.
Hazard reported ahead.
Thanks, sweetie. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Alright. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Good morning. Battery, good. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. 3, 2, 1.